crazy. This is crazy, guys. I'm getting kicked off. This is like, it's like, I'm telling you, this is witchcraft. Okay, guys, I'm just gonna get started. Hopefully this does not disconnect. If it does, I'm going to pre-record this and then post it. Like, this is so crazy to me. So you guys can share and everything else. Thank you for the compliment. Okay, let me just start and then we can share, because I think I'm gonna get kicked off here again. I want to address, first of all, people keep asking me about Greg and Taisha Locke. I'm gonna get to there. And about Gina Warren, and I'm going to get to there. But I want to say something before I get to there. There is a very large difference, and I want people to understand the difference, because if you work with survivors, talk with survivors, or anything, there is a difference between deliverance and counseling and therapy. It is a very large difference. And if people don't know the difference that are helping survivors, they shouldn't be helping them at all, okay? When I got rescued, and I had gotten out of jail, I went to go see a therapist. I went to multiple different therapists to figure out how to do civilian life, because I didn't know how to communicate. I didn't know what was normal. I didn't know that selling your body for sex wasn't normal, because I had been forced to do it for almost a decade. So when I started going to a therapist, the therapist taught me how to be a civilian and how to communicate. It was years later that I went through my own deliverance on my own for many months, and cutting those soul ties with family and people that raped and beat and tortured me, and cut those soul ties and had my deliverance through Jesus, okay? And I'm gonna say Jesus here because I know a lot of people don't use Yahweh or Yeshua, so for people that don't understand that, I'm just gonna say Jesus here, okay? And so there is a difference, okay? Gina Warren says that she is a therapist and a deliverer. First of all, no man can deliver you. God delivers you from your pain and your trauma. She made a comment, okay, and this, I was gonna stay quiet because frankly, I think she's a joke, and I got stuck into her web of lies so quickly. And I think because I was doing so many extractions and I was so exhausted, she was able to infiltrate my life, even though there were a lot of red flags there, okay? So she made a comment that on a show, oh, how is it going for me that I'm still in therapy? First of all, as a survivor, I still have normal everyday life, just like you guys, that might be hard, or that I want to talk to my therapist about, that I want to get advice on. That is a healthy relationship that I have with my therapist. Do I see her on a weekly basis? If I need to see her on a weekly basis, I do. If I don't, then I take time off and then I reach out to her and say, hey, I'm going through this. Can we chat about it? Because it gives an unbiased advice to me to be able to go on with life. So her BS remark of, oh, how is that doing for me? Yet she's supposedly helping survivors. It's bullshit. I'm sorry. It's BS. It's crap. And I think it's ridiculous that she's making comments like that, but she's supposedly helping survivors. Now, on top of it, she charges $120 for her deliverance. And she says that the reason she charges that money, $120 for the deliverance, is because she needs to get to know their background and their past and whatever. Well, I thought you were a prophet. If you're a prophet, wouldn't God already tell you that? Wouldn't God already tell you what they need to be delivered from? You're not a prophet then, right? You're not a prophet, you're not real, you're not legit, and you are conning these survivors that need desperate help and hurting them. Do you know how many survivors? She also made a comment that 2 survivors reached out to me that she didn't help. First of all, there were more, but let's just say that there were 2 survivors that she didn't help and she harmed. Then if she's harmed 2 human beings already that have gone through hell and back, don't you think that she should not be helping survivors? You hurt them, you harmed them, you are on a, listen, I talk about what I have gone through, my testimony, okay? Real life events that have happened in my life. I talk about that. I am not on a war path against pastors that are good or that may not be like doctrinally sound. And when people talk about doctrine, I can't stand it. Oh, doctrine matters. Doctrine matters. First of all, I believe, whether you believe it or not, it's okay if you don't, but I believe and know for a fact that they have stolen books of the Bible from us because there are things in there that they didn't want us to know so we could win this war. And so no one's doctrinally sound. And I'm sick of people talking about doctrine and no one's talking about a relationship with Jesus. No one. People are. I'm sorry. There are pastors that are talking about relationships, so not anyone, but a lot of these people that are pushing the doctrine card but not are talking about relationship means that they're just full of crap and no one needs to listen to them. Now, I'm going to break down, okay, Gina's lies because I'm sick of her lying. She said on a show, okay, she had sent it to me when she was going after Johnny and Elizabeth Enlow, and she was going on the attack against them. Now, I've talked about this before. I know Johnny and Elizabeth. They have been kind to me and they have been good to me. And if you have an issue in your relationship, you go and you talk about that issue. You don't make it there for the public to see and to talk about it with the public. You don't. There are times you do that, and I'll get to that. But in this situation, she was going on the attack, saying that Johnny and Elizabeth were false prophets and all this stuff. Why was she saying that? She was saying that because she didn't get the attention she wanted from Johnny and Elizabeth, and that is why she is... Okay, hold on one second, guys. I'm getting a call. Sorry. I was getting a call. I thought he was calling me in 30 minutes. So, anyway, she was going on the attack against them. So she's gone on this warpath against all these people that I didn't have issues with. When she was going on the attack against Johnny and Elizabeth, she made it seem like I was going on the attack against them too. I was not. And I have since had to go to Johnny and Elizabeth Enlow and apologize to them because I'm like, listen, I did not know she was going to go on the attack against you, nor did I have any desire to go on the attack. I love you guys. I care about you guys. I'm not going to go on the attack against you. In that same broadcast that she did, she told people that she was my pastor and that I've gone through her deliverance ministry. No, I haven't, nor will I ever, nor would I ever want to. I don't, and anyone that's watched me for some time or that are really close to me in my tight-knit circle knows that I talk about the Pastor Corey and his wife Lindsay in Colorado. That is who I go to advice when I'm not sure about certain things. I also don't get involved in church politics or anything like that. So when everything happened with Greg and Taisha Locke and Gina and Brian Warren, I did go and seek counsel from a pastor in a church, which was Corey, and talked to him about it and asked him about it. Now, I'm going to get there, and you probably won't see my face because I have to go into my notes section here because I need to break down the other lies that she stated, and I don't want to miss anything. Gina Guy Warren. I don't know if it went off. Okay, I might not be able to, I might have to come back in because I don't know if it went off my live or not. So I'll have to go back and look at all of the lies because I might miss something. So I may do another video. I just don't want it to kick me off again if I go into my notes section on my phone. The other thing that she talks about, okay, and I have the dates, and I'm going to post all these dates. I'm going to post the screenshots of the text messages. She talks about Greg Locke talking to a demon. Now, again, I'm not going to get into the doctrine or whatever, but she sends me a text message prior to this, Greg Locke talking about that, okay, and says that she was on a therapy session and the demon said to her, "You're a prophet." And she starts talking to the demon. She sends that me in a text message. So you're sitting here calling out Greg Locke for talking to a demon, yet you also are talking to demons. So how are you wrong? Or and how is he wrong? Why can you talk to demons, but he can't talk to demons? And aren't we supposed to tell the demons to flee? I'm just saying, like, come on, like you're sitting here, like, you cannot sit there and say you're best friends with these people and then all of a sudden turn around and say, okay, I'm like, they're crazy because they're talking to demons and everything else. Okay. The next lie I'm going to break down is she's talking about Greg and Taisha Locke raised money. I think it was $300,000 raised money for Israel. I want to be very clear here, okay? Because I originally was questioning Greg and Taisha Locke on the money and why aren't they raising money for America, everything else. Well, I had a call with both Greg and Taisha Locke, and you know what? How graceful they were to me. I questioned them like nobody's business. I interrogated the heck out of them, and they answered my questions. They answered my questions because they knew that I didn't trust pastors and their wives, and they knew that people in ministry I didn't trust very well, but they let me question them. They did not have to allow me to ask them anything. They run a ministry. Who am I to them? Nobody. They don't need to like answer to me. I don't, you know what I mean? But out of just because they know what I've gone through, they answered the questions. And no, they did not steal $300,000 at all, okay? And it's funny that Gina says that they are stealing money, yet prior to me having a conversation with Greg and Taisha Locke, I had a conversation with Gina, and she sent in messages yet again. They're not stealing money, that they're giving, they just gave away $500 at their church service to widows. They've given to single moms. She talks about how much this couple gives back to the community in Tennessee, yet she's sitting here saying that they're liars and that they're stealing, which is not the case. It is like, listen, I'm all about calling out the scumbags, okay? But I will not sit back and allow people to accuse other people of human trafficking when they're not doing it. That defeats the purpose. It defeats on like how we come together as a entirety of good and stay the course for the kingdom of heaven, okay? I can also tell you guys that Greg and Taisha Locke, I have called them on a couple different occasions asking for help in their community, and they have offered to help each time, okay? So to me, I go by people's actions and not their words, and their actions that I have had from this couple and this pastor, whether they have a large following or not, have been that they have helped and wanted to help and have been very loving and very kind to me. And I even asked them, because listen, I've talked to them for some time now. I don't need to go on here and tell people who I know and who I talk to, because that's not what this war is about. To me, it's about let's come together. Who can we trust in different states and different countries to where there are safe havens around the country for these women and children, and the pastors that will create that safe haven for them. Greg and Taisha are creating that safe haven, and someone implying that they're trafficking women and children is the most disgusting, asinine thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Now, I'm going to tell you another lie that Gina Guy Warren told, okay? Because again, I'm just breaking down her lies and truth. I'm not going to, and then I'm going to tell you my opinion on her. The other lie is, before I had spoken to Greg and Taisha Locke, they asked me, seriously, okay, there's a question here. I think it's a ridiculous question, but I'll answer it in a second. Gina had sent a message to Greg and Taisha and said, Madison will not get on a Zoom call unless I'm on it. And so she sends me a message and says, I told them you wouldn't get on the call unless it was with me. And I said, why would you tell them that? That's not the truth. And I've talked to many of these pastors, a lot of pastors offline. And I'm like, why would you say that I am talking to, or I wouldn't want to talk to them without you? No, like that's BS. That's crap. I'm a grown woman. I don't need Gina Guy Warren or Brian Warren or anyone else to have me talk to these pastors or fight my battles. And I'm not fighting with Greg and Taisha Locke. I'm just saying the record straight that I am sick of people using the human trafficking card because they're pissed off at someone, and they're pissed because they're not because they did something wrong. Okay. Now, here's the other thing. Greg Locke and Taisha Locke were not the first pastors to call this woman a witch. Now, I'm not saying whether she is or she isn't one, but I'm telling you, they're not the first ones. She writes about it. She talks about it. She prior got kicked out of a church and told the pastor, if I'm a witch, then deliver me because I'm a witch. Why are the, like, this is not the first, and that church that kicked her out was not a bad church either. It wasn't a bad pastor either. This is not the first time this has happened. People are just hearing about it for the first time because Greg and Taisha Locke have a following. Now, I'm going to address that here. When you are people like us that are on the front lines fighting a war and really making a difference and trying to make a difference and really standing up for the kingdom of heaven, people try to infiltrate your life. And so, yes, there are certain things that pastors should, I guess, have a protocol for. But when it comes to someone's life, like Greg and Taisha Locke's, they don't need to go and talk to Gina and tell her that she's being kicked out of the church. No, they don't. Their first priority is to themselves and their family and to make sure that they're protected. So people that are getting pissed that he didn't talk to her, guess what? Gina lied over and 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 over again. That she lied so much that it's sometimes hard to think what's reality and what's not with this woman. It's difficult to figure it out. So people that are pissed at him for not wanting to talk to her, guess what? I don't blame him. He's got to protect his family and his wife and his kids, and that's the priority that they need to protect, okay? I mean, and here's the thing. Gina brought me into her shit show, and I didn't want to be brought into it. The first time that it was crazy and like out of control on a different level was when she invited me to go speak at a supposed anti-trafficking event. The lady, Orly Moore, who's the biggest con artist out there, she was homeless, married an American citizen to get her status. Two things that I hate: you defraud my country and you defraud people that are being trafficked. And she brings me to this shit show to go speak. Okay, and listen, not that I'm so important or whatever, but if I'm gonna go speak, then I need to at least have an hour to speak, because I take time away from my babies, my life, going and rescuing these kids to go speak. Well, I go to this show, like this supposedly anti-trafficking show, and the lady takes my time down to 10 minutes. First of all, if you've heard my testimony, you cannot tell my testimony in 10 minutes, okay? It's difficult. So I'm like, I'm just gonna stay up here and speak. Then after I speak, this woman, Orly Moore, lines up a bunch of people and starts raising money. Guess what? No one's my pimp. You don't raise money unless you ask my permission to raise money after I speak, because you're not my pimp. Gina's not my pimp. Gina's not my pastor. Orly Moore is not my pimp, and she's not my pastor. And it's just like, it was ridiculous. And then after that, okay, I'm sitting there with my friend Jason Cisneros and Gina Guy Warren and Brian Warren, and these witches come up and want our DNA. To me, that is witchcraft. Gina was like, oh, okay. No. I said, absolutely not. Go away. You're not taking our DNA, especially because Jason does go and extract women and children. So you get our DNA. There's so much witchcraft that you can do within regret. Yes, she did accuse people of trafficking, and I'll get to that, because you cannot imply that you're trafficking. I listened to her entire thing. So you don't have to follow me, but you're not going to come on here, because I listened to it and she did imply that they trafficked with that $300,000. So don't get me started, because I'm getting pissed that this woman can manipulate just like she did when I went to this show. And now you're coming on this is my house. So you can go, Ruth Ann, this is my house. And she implied it. And it is not false, and I listened to it. And those two, that couple, are not trafficking anybody, and I'll be damned if I sit here and let anyone accuse anyone of trafficking that are not, period. Anyway, sorry, I went off on a tangent, but I'm just so sick of her cons and her lies, and I'm getting to the worst part of it, okay? Anyway, they tried to get our DNA. She wanted it. So what I did is I took all of our drinks that we had. I went to the bartender. I told the bartender, I'll give you $20 so I can see you put it in the, in the bar where the heat water is or whatever. And the bartender did. We left at that point. And then after that is when her epic lies and then her warpath on Johnny and Elizabeth Enlow, because they didn't pay attention to her. The guy from the Elijah list, Steve Schultz, which I don't know Steve Schultz. I know nothing about him. I know nothing about that list or anything like that. I mean, I know of Steve Schultz. I don't know him personally. You're going on the warpath because these people won't pay attention to you. That is not God. You cannot go on the warpath. So because these people weren't paying attention to her, what did she do? She turned around on a different, and then infiltrated our life. And we somehow, because Greg and Taisha Locke and myself, somehow she infiltrated our life around the exact same time, and things started to go crazy. She also said on her video that one of the guys, I can't remember what his name is, so I can't see my notes, but had gotten attacked. And after meeting her, well, let me tell you guys, I was coming off of an extraction and walking up to my house, and I was thinking I'm safe because I'm walking up to my house, and I got attacked. And the person that attacked me said, "I'm doing this in the name of Gina." Now, whether it was her or not, I don't know. We are interrogating still the guy that came and attacked me. Thankfully, I had 2 people that were with me for protection. And so why are people getting attacked? Okay, here's another lie that she told. She said that her ex-husband died and God killed him because of what she went through. That dude is still alive. Why are you lying about that? Like, that is on another level of crazy. And yes, Gina implied that Greg and Taisha Locke were trafficking women and children, and they're not. And I can tell you with 110% certainty that they are helping whoever needs help. They're helping trafficking survivors, and I have no doubt in my mind if I called them and said, "Hey, I needed help," they'd help me. So again, someone on here coming on my page telling me that that's not what she did. Yes, she absolutely did. She said, "What are they doing with the trailer in wherever the tent is in Tennessee?" and made comments that these people are trafficking women and children when they're not. I'm sorry, guys. You cannot do that. It's disgusting. And it's on another level of crazy. And I feel like she's connected to certain people, and she's financially sound and stable, like well off, to where who does she work for? We're going to find that out. Let me tell you, because if that attack on me and the attack that was connected to Greg and Taisha Locke, guess what? Her arrest is coming too, because everything that's done in dark comes to light, and this is like disgusting. And I did ask Taisha and Greg Locke if I could go on the record. They didn't ask me to. I am just sick of people lying about human trafficking. It takes away from people like myself telling our testimony and really fighting it. People like Jesse Saboter and Tom Althouse, Cheryl Beck, and all of these other people that have fought to tell their story and tell their testimony. Then we have this BS woman that's going and accusing people. Not all pastors are traffickers. Not all megachurch pastors are traffickers. But you know what? A lot of them have sold their soul to the devil. The ones right now that I can tell you have not are Greg and Taisha Locke, okay? And if they did, you better believe I told them, if you ever sold yourself to the devil, I'm coming for you, okay? And so this is not about me taking someone's side because of whatever reason. It's that we have to stand up in truth. We have to walk with a breastplate of truth around us. And regardless of what people think of this pastor and his wife and what they preach doctrinally, I don't give a crap. I feel like I know their hearts. I feel like their hearts are pure. I feel like their hearts are good. And I feel like there is not an ulterior motive when it comes to them. I do feel like there's an ulterior motive when it comes to Gina and Brian Warren. Now, is it Brian so much? I don't know. Here's the last thing that I'm going to get into, maybe 2 things. One is, I don't know if Gina has multiple personalities or she is working for someone on the side of bad. I can tell you she went to the defense of Perry Stone, and I find that very suspect that she went to the defense of him. She also continued to say how much she has all of these friends on different platforms and different things, and like she tried to say Victor Marx was her friend, yet then when I called out Victor Marx, was like, no, he's not helping anybody, and you're going on the attack against survivors. She then had an issue with Victor Marx. Like, it's kind of like I think she did it with Taisha Locke. I think she did it with me. What's it called? What's that movie called? Single White Female, where you're trying to gain that person's personality and whatever. You know what? God's given certain people a platform that need a platform. That need encouragement and need help. He gave that to Greg and Taisha Locke. Are we supposed to tear it down because we're uncomfortable with maybe some of the things that they've done or said, but we don't know the whole story surrounding it? No. If you're not raping and hurting these babies, then we need to stand together. We need to stand together because we're all on the same side of the ones that they're hurting these babies and these women and children and some men. Like, let's stand together. When it's people like her that are pissed off because she manipulated and lied and demanded a seat at the table when she didn't deserve a seat at the table. But what have you done to deserve a seat at the table? And anyone that was like, oh, she was the security and blah, blah, blah. Listen, I believe that there was some witchcraft there. I really prayed about it, and I went back and looked through my text messages, and there were certain times after I talked to her, I got extremely sick, like to the point where I couldn't get off my couch. And so I would stop talking to her for a little bit. And then I would get a text from her if I hadn't talked to her, and she would say, oh, I just feel like your energy, like something's off. Guess what? Witches, and I'm not calling her, listen, I think there's witchcraft there. When there is witchcraft, they can suck that energy out of you if you haven't prayed against it. To me, you're sucking this energy. You're sucking the Jesus out of me. You're sucking the light out of me. And I guarantee you that was happening with Greg and Taisha Locke. Now, and here's another crazy thing. When I am with my friends, okay, or anyone that I love and care about, we don't have our phones out recording every 5 seconds. When I have talked to Greg and Taisha Locke, or when I have talked to, Paulo Bell and his wife, or when I talk to you don't have a recorder out recording. Like, to me, that's asinine. That's crazy. You just don't have a recorder out. I mean, there is so many lies after lies after lies after lies that she has told, and it's time to stand up to this crazy. I mean, and people are like, oh, you're trying to silence her or whatever. No, I'm sick of the lies, like I said, and I'm sick of people accusing someone. That it's like the go-to now of, oh, this person is trafficking women and children because you tried to manipulate them and try to say that you should be pastors on their church. And I guarantee you, and I don't know because I haven't asked this is an opinion on my part, that Greg and Taisha Locke did not ask her to pray for anyone. She lied about being my pastor and lied about me going through her deliverance ministry. She also lied about being Greg and Taisha's spiritual advisors. I guarantee you, Greg and Taisha Locke have a lot better spiritual advisors than Gina Guy Warren, who only knew them for a couple months and didn't I'm sure they didn't go to her for spiritual advice and whatever. So just because you conned your way into a church and started laying hands on people doesn't mean that you're a part of that church. Listen, I can go into any church, and if there is an altar call or anything like that, and people are not I will, Taisha. I'm so pissed right now. Okay, again, listen, if you go into a church, I can go into a mega church right now. I could lay my hands. When the pastor and the pastor's wife truly care about people, they're not paying attention to other people because they're praying over someone. So I'm going to go into whatever mega church, and I'm going to start, what if I went into Greg and Taisha's church and they didn't know who I was? I started laying hands on people. What am I going to say? I'm on their ministry team because I'm laying hands. No, that's BS. They weren't paying attention. But why did you have your camera out? Why were you, Gina talks about, she said it on multiple broadcasts. I was in the eyesight of the camera next to Taisha. Okay, you were in the eyesight because you made sure you knew where that camera was. You made sure that you were paying attention to where that camera is. So anyway, I broke down the lies for you. I know that there's more, but because I couldn't log on to the computer and everything else, I'll lay them out. But I'm telling you right now, those two are on another level of crazy, and they will pay ultimately. Greg and Taisha Locke are not trafficking anybody. They help women and children. They are good people, and I don't care what you believe doctrinally or not. If people have a good heart and a good soul, then they're good. That's it. And, listen, I'm just annoyed, and her lies and her making comments about good people, making comments about me, and making comments that I'm not good because I go see my therapist. No, that's ridiculous. So with the question that I've gotten over for the past 6 months, is Greg and Taisha Locke good? Yes, they are. Is Gina and Guy Warren bad? Yes, they are. And I want to apologize to everyone that I may have led astray to them, because there was a manipulation she had over me. And I think she came into a time in my life where I was exhausted and tired, and I just couldn't catch it. And that is on me. And I am always the first person to come on here and say, hey, I'm sorry for steering you the wrong way. And I did with her. And if you're following her, please don't. And again, don't come into my house and tell me that these pastors are bad when I know for a fact that they are helping women out of sex trafficking, and when I have called and asked if they could help against certain pastors that are harming these people, they're the first ones to step up. So anyway, I love all of you guys. I think that you guys should go and give Greg and Taisha encouragement, because getting mad at them for kicking out this woman out of their church when this is their life. They have threats towards them, just like I have threats towards them. Gina is a credible threat, and it is not Greg and Taisha Locke's job to go and communicate with a threat and communicate with someone that can potentially harm their family. That is why they have security. That's why I have security when I go to certain places, to ensure that I can come home to my babies every night. And that is why Greg and Taisha Locke have security, so they can go home to their babies every night, because they're standing up for the truth. And standing up for the truth is never easy. You have a lot of hate. You have a lot of people that don't want to be around you. So go encourage this pastor and his wife, because guess what? I put them on the same level as I do my pastor in Colorado and that church in Colorado that are helping people. So listen, I always talk about the bad pastors. So let me name the 4 pastors. Well, there's a lot of them right now, but I'm going to name the ones that I've built a relationship with are Corey and Lindsay Bragg at Journey Church, Scotty and Amy Priest, Journey Church in Colorado, not associated with Mike Erie, and Greg and Taisha Locke in Tennessee. So if you guys can, go encourage these pastors, because they're standing with a breastplate of truth and righteousness, and they're helping the ones that truly needs the help. And they have put up with me, which is not an easy task, of me interrogating them and asking them questions when they do not have to and do not owe me anything. So anyway, I love Greg and Taisha for what they're doing. I didn't have to come on here. They did not ask me to. I have chose to come on here on my own. And just because you cannot accuse someone of trafficking women and children when they're not. And I will not stand for it. I will never stand for it. It's like if you're going through a divorce and someone says, oh, my husband or my wife is trafficking children so you can gain a one-up in the divorce. No. Gina's trying to gain a one-up in this fight, and guess what? She's not going to win. And I'm going to stand on this side over here with Greg and Taisha, because I can count the lies, and I have her lies documented, and I will post all of her lies and all of her screenshots and everything else. And yes, I agree. She needs to be sued. And I agree. So anyway, I love all of you guys. If you can do anything for me today, go encourage those 4 pastors and tell them thank you for standing up for what is right, because guess what? There's very few pastors and their wives that are standing up for the good and standing up for what is right and creating safe havens for women of abuse and human trafficking. So I love you guys all. Taisha and Greg, thank you for standing up for what is right. Appreciate you. Bye, everyone. Mwah.